Hey, what's going on, Ramley? Welcome to the Rams Skinny here on the LAFB Network. We are Los Angeles Sports. This is your daily dose of Los Angeles Rams news. We were live on Sunday, but back again after a great Rams win over the Tennessee Titans. The Rams moved to 2-0 on the season. Best start we've seen in quite some time. What were they in the Super Bowl winning year, 2001? Do you remember, Skinny, what they started off as? Putting you on the spot?
Well, I do know that they started at least 2-0. I mean, I can.
Okay, that's all. So since 2021, I think
It's first time.
Yeah. So it's a good sign for things to come. But yeah, jumping on here, we got some news to talk about. Injury news. A new cornerback signed because of that injury news. Sean McVay, head coach, talks about the old dreaded Tush Push with the Rams will have to face this week as they travel to Philadelphia. Plus, we'll give a couple winners, and we're calling it not as much of a winner. I guess that's the new segment. Everyone gets a little sensitive about saying loser. So winners and not as much of a winner from Rams players on last Sunday. First and foremost, though, Skinny, how are you doing today?
Doing great. To answer your question, they started 3-0 and then lost a game in 2021 to the Arizona Cardinals, 37-20. Last year in week 3, they lost 41-10 against those Cardinals. Cardinals
That's
are coming up soon.
That's right.
But,
okay.
I'm great. I'm good.
Excellent. Staying cool. Hopefully, another little heat wave. Hopefully, it doesn't last long here. But yeah, I mean, speaking of heat waves, Rams looking good. They're climbing up the ranks. I saw, not surprising, and this isn't trying to be a shot, but our good friend Jake Ellenbogen, his rankings has the Rams as the best team in football. Not surprising.
Oh,
yeah. Put them at number 1. But I mean, hey, they're 2-0. They're looking good. You could make the argument. I would certainly listen. I don't know if I'd put them at 1 right now, but certainly we said even last week going into this game, I think you had them at 6. I had them at 5. We could maybe bump them up a spot or 2 from there after a good road win. So yeah, this team is looking good, starting off good. A lot of good things to talk about here. But before we get into a little bit of injury news, quickly, let's talk about our friends over at Sleeper, the new #1 sports app. If you haven't heard of it, it's not just a season-long fantasy app. They got real-time scores, live updates that you get. So if you don't want to get Twitter updates, you can get them straight from Sleeper on all your games. There it is. Skinny's showing it on the screen. Plus, they have a fantastic, fun, and you can win real money in their daily, I think they call them daily pick'ems. But essentially, for any sport, but if you want to just stick to the NFL and stick to the Rams, you're picking 2 to 8 players and picking more or less, whether it's yards, whether it's touchdowns, whether it's sacks, whatever it may be. And you can combine different leagues and all that and different teams and games. So download the Sleeper app today. When you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code RAMS LAFB. All one word, Rams LAFB. You're going to get a match bonus up to $100. Put in $100, you get a free $100. But you got $200 now to play with in these pick'ems. I won finally again last night, Skinny. Won one on the Chargers Raiders game last night. So luckily I did because what you can do, for those who know, and then we'll wrap this up, is let's say you pick 5 different players to add to kind of your team. You can just take where you got to hit all 5 of them, and then your odds are obviously greater. Or you can, in a way, have it to be where if you hit 5, you get a certain amount. If you hit 4, you hit a certain amount. If you hit 3, you still win something. So the winnings are a little less, but gives you opportunity if, because a normal betting site, once you miss 1, you're done. So this gives you a little opportunity to miss 1. So Amari Hampton and the Chargers rushing game is non-existent. So I lost that one, but all the rest of mine hit. So got back on the winning side. So Rams LAFB promo code over at Sleeper. Tell them the guys at the Rams Skinny sent you.
We got NFL, or we got NHL coming up. Preseason games in a few weeks.
I know.
NBA preseason games coming up in a few weeks. Tons of stuff to play on Sleeper.
A lot of excitement too with Lakers and Kings. I'm excited about the Kings this year. We're gonna try to go to that season opener, Kings Avalanche at the Crib.
Oh, we're gonna do it. Let's make it happen.
Should be a great time. So any Ramley out there should come out and say what up. But all right, let's start with injury news. Ahkello Witherspoon. Everyone knows by now we're a few days removed from the game. Broken clavicle. He was put on the IR. I found this interesting, Skinny. Sean McVay said does not believe he will need surgery. They expect him back at some point, but it looks like a 12-week recovery. Now, we don't know the severity. Broken clavicle, I mean, it is like the entire clavicle by the shoulder, like completely severed in half. Is it fractured? We don't know. All I know is when I played high school ball, I broke my clavicle and I missed 6 weeks. And then I was back. It was like a 6 to 8 week heal. I mean, I did not do anything surgically. It was just like in a sling, which I rarely wore because I was a high school kid. But I was out 6 weeks and I was back. So hearing McVay say 12 weeks, that's either like a major precaution, that's kind of new NFL protocols, or that it's like a much more severe clavicle break than I have. I don't know if you're familiar with clavicle breaks or whatnot, but did that surprise you at all?
Yeah, it really did. I got to say, the research that I did, 6 to 8 weeks for non-surgical, 12 weeks at the maximum for a surgical. So yeah, that is surprising, but not surprising that they went ahead and pulled the trigger on somebody else, because this is a thin unit without Ahkello Witherspoon. I think they have, before signing Trey Brown, just 5 guys on there. And that was kind of a choice that they made, not drafting anybody, no UDFAs, cutting down pretty significantly, getting rid of some guys that played some snaps last year. Charles Woods, one of them, Tre'Davious Hodges, Thomason Hodges, another guy that they let go. Darian Kendrick, another guy they let go. So, last I saw, Tomlinson Hodges was in San Francisco and Darian Kendrick was in Seattle making plays this week in the game. So, that's a surprising diagnosis for this. It must be it's on the outside of this kind of injury for sure.
Yeah. So either it's pretty like severely broken, and because the clavicle is essentially, I'm not a doctor, but having broke it, it's essentially what kind of connects your collarbone to your shoulder. Is like it's not a joint, it's a bone. But that's kind of, it's not like, if anyone watching the video, like your collarbone is this. So if you like snap your collarbone, that's little bone's broken. The clavicle is where it like connects into like your shoulder joint. So I don't know if it's just like severe, like mine was, fractured up, and, you could see on the x-ray, like look like that, very painful. Yeah. It happened in the beginning of practice, and I finished practice, not to toot my horn here, but what we did in high school, I don't know if any pro teams do this anymore, probably not, with how soft it's kind of gotten, but we would do, as an offense, any fumble, any penalty, any miscue was 5 up downs, and our offensive coordinator would add them up. So that day, I always vividly remember this, we had 105 up downs, and I had a broken clavicle. So you can do the math, going up and down 105 times. Maybe it wasn't broken, and that's what did it. Finally, put me in the final thing, but it was a rough go. But yeah, 6 weeks. So his is either severe, or it's Sean McVay knowing what happened during training camp with Matthew Stafford and the questions, him just saying, let's just put the longest time he can be out, and then we don't have to talk about it until he's good to go. Maybe he'll be back in 6 weeks, and everyone's like, oh, look how fast he recovered. So that may be more of what he's doing. Just like, let's just get ahead of this and say, don't talk to me. We'll tell you when it's ready. Whereas if he said 6 weeks and 6 weeks comes and he's not ready, then it's, what's McVay hiding? Where the eternal optimist not telling us the truth?
Yeah, I prefer this method. Worst case scenario guy, I don't mind it.
Yeah. So Trey Brown is who they signed. You alluded to it. Drafted by the Seahawks in 2021 in the 4th round. Played 4 years with the Seahawks. His best year came in 2023, so 2 seasons ago. Had 2 interceptions. I believe he had 6 passes defensed, 2 forced fumbles, roughly 39 total tackles. So not a bad season there. Was not re-signed after his rookie contract ended. He signed with the San Francisco 49ers. So he's making his way down south in the NFC West. Was on their roster through training camp, did not make the final 53, so was waived. Free agent. Now the Rams sign him. So in a way, the Rams basically traded Darian Kendrick. I know he's with the Seahawks, not the Niners, but since Trey Brown was originally with the Seahawks, essentially traded Darian Kendrick for Trey Brown. So I'll pose it to you like this. You could obviously comment your thoughts on Trey Brown, but knowing what we know, is he an upgrade over Kendrick, or would have been better off them trying to keep Kendrick on their practice squad to elevate?
I mean, I've always been a big fan of Darian Kendrick. I'm not going to lie. I like his moxie. I like how he plays the game. But, he was taken off the field for a reason. So, I mean, this guy's played a lot of quality football. Trey Brown has over the years, on the field a lot. You think about, if you just kind of glance at PFF grades, there's some green, there's some yellow, there's some red. So kind of inconsistent up and down play. But I don't mind it. I think that, adding a guy like this, where he's had some high level play and some, less than high level play, but the experience is where it's at, and he's got more experience than Darian Kendrick at this point. So I guess I'll lean on that. I don't anticipate him elevating into a starting role necessarily, but I think this is definitely a depth signing. But another freak injury, he could be out there. So I think, I don't know about an upgrade, but smart and quality signing. Maybe Darian Kendrick wanted out, and they gave him that opportunity. Outside corner primarily, and didn't play a lot in the slot. So that's kind of what they need, especially right now.
Yeah, we talked last week after week 1 when Darius Williams did not play a single snap, was dressed, but essentially a healthy scratch. And so we were like, is this looking like trade candidate? This was a guy that was a starter going into training camp. There was no talks of him not being a starter and then just not playing week 1 at all. Like, could they trade him? Obviously now he is going to be the starter alongside Emmanuel Forbes. And can you imagine if they would have traded him, prior to the season starting or after week 1, then they'd really be up a creek right now, if you will. So, it looks like it'll be, Darius Williams and Emmanuel Forbes on the outside. Kobe Durant obviously will get probably a lot more playing time as well. And because we haven't seen, I don't think, any official moves. They'll be back at practice either later today or tomorrow. Probably today. But is Trey Brown a guy you think they'll put on the practice squad and elevate someone else? Or is he going to be, you think, on the active roster? Not a starter, but on the active roster and available.
I would imagine he'd jump right to the active roster. You got Cam Lampkin and AJ Green on the practice squad. I think Cam Lampkin, well, I think both of those guys did some things in preseason that were admirable. But this guy's just got a lot more game experience and, can be trusted in the event that somebody goes down. Even just for a few snaps, you can get him out there. And they're heading into a week against Philly. This is a big game. We're going to learn if Jake is right or wrong about, this being the best team in the NFL this week. They've played kind of the college football SEC schedule where you play, Mo State and then Bethune-Cookman, and then you take on Georgia or Alabama or whatever. This is Georgia, Alabama territory. So I think they gotta, as long as he can hit their ground running and he's in somewhat of football shape, I think he'll be suited up.
Yeah. So we shall see that. So let's move on now. Sure, everyone saw Eagles-Chiefs game. Eagles get the win. Tush Push is always a conversation, but it was a greater conversation this week because in multiple occasions, not only was the entire offensive line of the Eagles just offsides, just over the ball in the line of scrimmage. So right there was an infraction, but multiple times the guards were false starting, were jumping before the ball was even snapped. And so it's become kind of this contentious point that, the play is one thing, but if you're also just breaking the actual rules that are in place, what's that mean? So McVay asked about it because obviously the Rams are playing the Eagles this week in Philly. And you wrote an article about it. It's up on LAFBnetwork.com. But his response from that article, anytime that you see certain things, you have conversations with the league office to make sure you're understanding how it is officiated. How can we coach it? I did see some of those things last night, and that'll obviously be a big talking point because there's such a damn good team, and it's such a successful play for them. Those are conversations with the league office, but I'm sure they'll have the same ones and operate within the confines of not getting a little bit of a rolling start before the ball is snapped. Always politically correct, Mr. Sean McVay, but your thoughts on his overall comments?
Yeah, Sean McVay's been a opponent of this play for a long time. One, he does not like how it looks. He says it doesn't look like it's not a football play exactly in his mind. I think it's like the most football play. If you want to talk about a game that is about field position, pushing the line of scrimmage, which I believe it is. I mean, this is the core of football right here.
Yeah, the old leatherheads.
11 guys going up at 11 guys, see who comes out on top or on bottom, I guess, in this case. But I mean, how the game is officiated is always so interesting. They pull the levers and move things around to adjust for, kind of what's happening and the prevailing winds and whatnot. And, Philly's a good team that has a lot of sway right now. The league, it seems like they want the Eagles to be good. And this is kind of a unique play that really only they've perfected. We saw Josh Allen attempt it. He tried to go over, change the play and go up and over that one time. He looked kind of like a grandma putting a box of photos on a tall shelf.
Nice comparison.
I mean, it was so bad. It looked so bad. Yeah, I mean, so I see McVay's point. He actually, when during the league meetings when they were voting on it, he was, he came out and made the statement that he does believe that it should be made illegal, this play, which I don't agree with at all. And McVay's attempting what he's trying not to say is he's attempting to sway the officials to call this play in his favor and how he wants it to be called. And that's really all you can do when you're in his position, in this position. And then the last thing I'll say about it is if you don't like it, stop it.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm with you. Like I love it. I think it's a great play. Obviously don't want to see it successful against the Rams this week, but I agree. Yeah. I mean, it's like the true definition of just like bully ball and who can stop. And they ran it 7 times against the Chiefs, which is almost like a slap in the face of like, oh, we beat you in the Super Bowl, we'll beat you again, and this is how we're going to do it. So the idea of the play I do like personally. That being said, though, like you've got to still do it within the confines of the rules of the game, and being off the entire line offsides, like the ball was like under the center's chest. Everyone's head was over. Like, I don't know how a ref can't be like, yeah, the entire, like throw the flag offsides on the entire offensive line, and then false starting, which is a little harder on this play to call because we've seen, I'm sure you've seen it. We've all seen the clips out there, but those are slowed down like in real time. Like there's been many times, even in last night's Chargers Raider games, like there was many times where, in my opinion, Trey Pipkins, the right tackle, jumped a little bit before the ball was snapped. That's like a tactic a lot of tackles use. Lane Johnson of the Eagles has become famous for doing that. One of the Chiefs tackles does it a lot of times where they somehow get off, and it's too hard in real time to, like, if you can only look at one thing. Like I know there's multiple refs looking at different, but they're all looking at different things. They're not all watching the exact same thing. So there's one umpire, one ref that's watching the line of scrimmage, and you can only kind of see one thing. So I get that one in real time being a little tougher. If it is not in a slowed down film, it looks more like just within cadence, but the offsides being over it, like that's egregious. Like you can just see that from looking at the ball. So I have no problem with the play. I do have a problem if they're not going to like call what rules are actually have been in place for 50 years for, NFL football. That being said, like it is, and we won't spend a ton of time on this. We'll probably talk more about it with our previews and whatnot. And then we're going to get to our winners and not so winners from last week. But yeah, it is surprising me that no one else have tried to like perfect this. Now I get stopping it is a challenge, like, because it's such a leverage game and how low those guys get. It still drives me crazy when I see players jump over the pile, like on defense. Like you lose all your leverage when you jump over. Like then you're just dead weight. You're not like if you're just think logically as like a human being, right? When you're on the ground as someone that's a supernatural athlete, one of the greatest specimens in like the world when you think of like professional athletes and how much power and strength they have. Like when you just think scientifically, all of your power when you're pushing against the ground and transmitting it, that's when you have your power. As soon as you go airborne, you're just dead weight. You have zero power. So whenever I see like linebackers and corners like jump over and think like them landing on top is going to do anything, it almost upsets me because I'm just like, I'm not that smart of a person, but like even I know like that does nothing. So like, why are we not like stacking guys somehow and trying to use that leverage?
Well, my idea is to mirror it. So you've got Jalen Hurts, and then you've got Saquon Barkley, and Jalen goes, and then Saquon behind him. Like line up a Kyle Hamilton type player. Not everybody's going to have that.
Yeah.
A Quentin Lake type player as your quarterback to mirror it, and then a running back type player to come behind, sniff it out. I don't know. Again, I'm not a smart person, but that's my best answer. And to your question about why teams don't try to perfect this, more teams don't try to perfect this specifically for the Rams. McVay basically said, "Yeah, we're not running that with Matthew Stafford."
Yeah,
yeah.
Like them, I get Stafford's back. Like that's not a play you run with his back. But yeah, when you're like Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Justin Herbert or all these like younger, healthier, more athletic, like why would you not try to utilize it? It clearly works. But defensively, I'd love to see a team like just try it, right? Like at this point, no one's stopping it. So try the opposite effect, right? Instead of saying, okay, we're lined up like this and we're just going to smash heads and hope we can get a little leverage and maybe stop you. Like if I'm the defensive line, when that ball snapped, I'm almost like laying back and then letting my linebackers come in and stop it. So the whole offensive line falls forward, and then I get my linebackers that are kind of coming over my defensive line head on because all their offensive line is like on the ground, on their stomachs, army crawling.
I think that's the annexation of Puerto Rico play from
there you go.
Little Giants.
Little Giants.
is that, yeah.
Give that a shot. So we'll see it this weekend.
I think we buried the lead. There's another injury we have not talked about. Sean McVay suffered a torn plantar
fasciitis.
There we go. I was all excited to say it, but I forgot how to say it. Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe he has a cane. I don't know. We'll see.
I'd be curious. It's a painful. I mean, it's in your foot. It's when athletes get it, it's 6 to 8 weeks. What Peyton Manning had it back when the Broncos won their Super Bowl, when everyone remembers Brock Osweiler taking over. That's what Manning had. It was a plantar fasciitis. So, yeah, I'd be curious. How great it'd be seeing Sean McVay like in a wheelchair, like out there just cruising around the sideline.
That'd be great.
I wonder if he'll be in a boot. He's such a like. I'm not
energetic.
saying he like. I don't know if he cares or not, but it looks like he cares about his appearance. He does a good job looking swaggy, looking good. I don't know if he'd feel comfortable out there like in a walking boot. I feel like he'll hide it somehow or just pain through it.
Yeah, he never wears hats.
Yeah.
The only time I've seen him in a hat was in that like freezing cold game in Philadelphia.
And it was a beanie. He's only Beanie McVay, not a hat. Never seen him in a ball cap.
No.
But he might
Visor?
be like me. Like I just don't look good in hats. So I just don't wear them that often because I just don't think I look good. Maybe he has like a head like mine where it just doesn't look good in hats. I mean, I feel like he looks good in everything, but maybe not baseball hats.
He's got a big head.
He's got when he's got great hair flow like he's got, show it off, I guess.
That's great.
Till you don't got it anymore, like me.
Yeah.
Like you.
I know how you feel.
Rub it in. Thank you. All right, well, let's talk winners and not so winners. We'll go quick on this. Don't got to go through, but whatever you want to start from last week's Tennessee win. Again, a really nice second half from the Rams. I think it was we talked about in our live, not a great first half, but hey, it's about how you finish. And they came out in the second half firing offensively and defensively, only giving up 6 points and scoring 23. So a nice 33-19 victory on the road. Shout out, by the way, to the Ramley. We talked about how Nissan Stadium just looked empty. I looked it up. There are 11,000 fans, no shows, but there was a lot of the Ramley out there in Nashville. Good trip. Why not go to Nashville, Tennessee, enjoy what is it, Broadway Street, their main drag of bars or whatever, and go catch a Rams game. So shout out Ramley. But I'll let you start. Winner, not so winner, whoever you want to talk about.
Yeah, I got in trouble for saying Jared Verse was a loser. So my first winner is not going to be Jared Verse, but it's going to be Byron Young. What a game. Taking advantage of it is an easy one, but I wanted to call him out specifically because I had been so hard on Jared Verse, but recognizing the winner here, 2 sacks, 6 pressures, one of the best games of his career. Yeah. So, big question mark about second contract for this guy. Are they going to be able to retain him with all these young pieces on the defensive line coming up for contract shortly? But if he continues on this pattern that he's been on for the last 2 weeks, really, he really took advantage of, some beat up offensive lines. And that's what I wanted to see. They were supposed to have JC Latham in this game. He couldn't play, injured. So, they're on the right side. So he just ate and did what he needed to do and keep that short and sweet because it's too obvious not to mention, but yeah, deserves the love for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic game. He has had a fantastic start to the season, and the Rams pass rush overall has been pretty good so far. So we'll see how that continues up against a much better Philadelphia offensive line. But yeah, Byron Young, I mean, Sean McVay was glowing about him after the game, and as he should. I mean, he had one of the best games of his young career and just continues to get better. And yeah, that second contract, we're going to start talking a lot more about here soon about when that gets done because he's going to come up against it. So I will also start with the winner, and this is a winner with a caveat, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but Davante Adams, got to give him his flowers, got in the end zone, first time as a Ram, 6 catches, 106 yards with that touchdown. He just looks great in horns. I think he fits in this offense. They do, however, what I didn't love. Well, no, I mean, I'll get your thoughts on this. So 13 targets with those 6 catches. So they were trying to get involved. Like we've talked a lot about Stafford hones in on one player and just peppers that guy the ball. Like that was trying to be Davante Adams so badly. 13 targets, only converted 6 of them. But hey, when those 6 go for 100+ yards and a touchdown, obviously that's a good day at the office. But the efficiency, it just felt too forced and not like they were taking what the defense was given to them. When you look down the rest of it, Puka Nacua, 8 catches, 91 yards, 9 targets. It's only 1 incompletion. Whittington, 2 receptions on 2 targets. Higbee, 4 catches on 4 targets. Kyren Williams, 2 catches on 2 targets. Davis Allen, 1 catch on 1 target. So it was like everyone else was was extremely efficient. And Davante Adams was kind of it felt forced. But I think because he is such a new player still, because he does have the pedigree that he has, you kind of had to force the option. And then now hopefully moving forward, it will be a little bit more organic. Like sometimes in life, right? Like even in business, right? Like you do some paid advertising. Like you just need that spark. So you do some paid advertising and then you hope that turns into more organic impressions down the line and organic renewals and revisits. So hopefully this was the paid advertising scope for Davante Adams. And we see a little bit more organic growth over the next few weeks, but still a winner. I mean, touchdown, 100+ yards. So welcome to the Ramley Davante Adams.
Yeah. Our guest Tuna on our live show pointed out that we're really targeting this guy, especially in the red zone. He pointed that out. And I think that was an astute observation. And they needed to do it. They needed to kind of lean into this to see what the connection between he and Stafford is after missing the entire preseason together, essentially. Not being able to play together because of Stafford's back injury, which is a thing of the past. Nobody's even really talking about it anymore. Which is interesting in its own right. But I think they had to kind of work some things out, and that led to some drops. But at the end of the day, in the second quarter, it really started to take off. So we were asking for it with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Now we're asking for it with Davante Adams and Puka Nacua. What does it look like when it's all together? When it's Philadelphia, when I want to see this dynamic offense, and it's showing spurts. It's showing that we can do it with Puka Nacua and that we can do it with Davante Adams. What does it look like all together? And can they keep that multiplicity throughout the year and into the playoffs? So I think it's a great call out by you.
And they're close, right? Because I mean, we sound like we're complaining. Like I will absolutely take between the two of them 14 catches and 197 yards. So, that is, you're not going to complain about that. I think that's a great day at the office for your top two receivers, considering both, 91 to 106, like very close in that in regard to just the target share was very different, but beggars can't be choosers. Just, you want to see a little bit more efficient. So definitely a winner, but we'll just see that continue to grow and hopefully see it a little bit more organically. So Skinny, who's your one, not so winner?
Well, I actually didn't. Well, okay. I can do
Or you can just have two winners if you just want two winners. That's fine.
I'm just going to do two winners. And I got to shout this guy out because he had a bounce back. Quentin Lake had a rough week 1. And I thought in this game had a much better performance. One of the best coverage grades of his career through PFF, a 90, which is good. Good in when he was up on the line of scrimmage, good as a run defender, just really checked all the boxes in this week. And, he's a friend of the show. Another guy that's going to be looking for a contract. He's actually on the last year of his contract. So he needs to play really well to continue sticking around on this defense and making some big difference making plays. And I thought he absolutely proved that this week. And he's been playing. I know this does not guarantee a second contract for a guy, but he's been playing. He's played 100% of the snaps in both games. So
yeah,
got to shout him out for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to see. Nice rebound from Q, who we both, love. He's such a great leader and mentor on this team, and someone we hope gets that second contract, which the Rams don't give out lightly to the secondary. So if he is able to get that second one, that just means how much the organization loves him and believes in him in leading that kind of back end from the nickel spot. So great to see a rebound from him. I'll give one not so winner, and I'm going to go with Kyren Williams. Not because he had a terrible game, not because we don't love Kyren Williams and think he has an absolute benefit to this team. But when you see his explosiveness or lack thereof, you can really see it. Finishes the game, 17 carries, 66 yards, so under 4 yards a carry. I think it was 3.8 yards a carry, 3.9.
Yeah.
And the 5 carries that Blake Corum got that he converted for 44 yards and a touchdown, or an 8.8 yard average, there was a noticeable explosive difference. The way that he was able to hit the hole. And again, he didn't burn one for 40, but when we talk explosiveness, just like at the point of attack or at the handoff junction, where does the rev up happen? And as good as Kyren is in a lot of areas, this is not some mystery. That's always been the whole thing. And that's what we even talked about. As much as we love him, will he get that second contract? Just because he doesn't have that explosiveness. Everyone talks kind of breakaway speed, but a lot of times it's just actually hitting the hole explosive. Now he's great in terms of tough to bring down and after contact. And obviously we've talked about his pass blocking ability, but the explosiveness certainly lacks. And it was telling in this game. I saw tons of fans on Twitter calling it out oh man, that second contract looks terrible. Kyren's not the same running back, all this and that. So he still has a place in this team, still love him, still root for him. But I hope we do see more of Blake Corum because that explosive does change things absolutely in the offense. Now, I don't know if you think this is unfortunate or fans will think this is unfortunate, but Sean McVay kind of asked about the running back split 17-5. And he said, yeah, that's much more in line with the split we want. I want to see more from Corum. I'd like to see more 13, 14 for Kyren and then probably 9 or 10 for Corum. I think that kind of feels better for me. I'm not the head coach but if they're going to keep this kind of 70-30 split, this is kind of what we're going to get. But you could make the argument, obviously, on their side that him limited reps allows for that more explosive because it's that change of pace. The defense doesn't know. Whereas if you give him more, maybe they know it's coming. I don't know. So we'll see how this continues to progress, going up against obviously a great defense in Philadelphia. But if I'm going to pick one not so winner, it's just the explosiveness of Kyren Williams.
Yeah, no surprise there. An interesting kind of wrinkle from this game specifically was their usage of zone runs rather than gap runs, which is basically how the offensive line is blocking, whether they're down blocking or blocking. Go look it up. It's hard to
Side
explain.
side. Yeah,
exactly. I think Kyren Williams is just a gap guy, and they ran a significant. Well, I mean, 11 zone to 6 gap. So I would say that's pretty significant. And I just think Kyren Williams is a gap guy. I'd have to go back and look at his college numbers to see. I know Notre Dame does run pretty much even splits because they have some of the best offensive linemen in college football year after year.
Yeah.
So, I'm not entirely sure what that was about. If that contributed to it, different teams have had success having, these change of pace or giving the ball to the handed guy. So, he said 65-35 in terms of what he wants to split the running back share. I would say, hey, if Blake Corum is on fire and he's just got a knack for beating one particular defense, let's lean into that. We don't need to coddle Kyren Williams. He's a team player. He's getting paid now. So, I'm sure he'd take an oxygen break on the sidelines for sure. Shout out to Blake Corum as well. We've been critical and pointing towards his pass blocking as maybe a liability in this game. Nailed it, knocked it out of the park with a pass blocking grade, which I don't have in front of me. Sorry, guys. 78.5. 78.5 I hope that was worth the wait. So no pressures allowed. Only 4 reps while doing that, but really important to this team and nice to see that he was able to play a clean game doing so.
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge reason why he didn't play hardly at all last year, was just getting up to speed in pass blocking and obviously protecting Matthew Stafford is priority number 1 for all these players, offensive line and running back. So yeah, we'll see what that looks like. It's a great point about the gap versus zone because it's such an interesting wrinkle because McVay, when he first became a head coach, it was such a zone heavy run, and they just recently kind of switched to a gap scheme when kind of Kyren Williams became the lead man, when they went away from, obviously Todd Gurley in the early years, but then you get, Darrell Henderson, Cam Akers, and they kind of pivoted to this gap scheme with Kyren Williams. And then now maybe sprinkling in both and seeing how that works for each back or whatnot. So that'll be a fun thing to kind of watch on how that progresses and how that changes and how that affects not just each running back, but maybe the splits. If we start seeing, from 65-30 to 60-40 to 55-45 and just see it, see what happens. So, will be interesting.
Yeah, the Rams revamped their offensive line specifically for this. I mean, you think of a guy like Kevin Dotson, he's much more of a gap kind of blocker. Coleman Sheldon's pretty versatile in that way, but Steve Avila was drafted specifically for that same ability. And you think about, duo where the guard down blocks and anyway, I'm getting into the weeds again. And then, guards pulling and GT counters and stuff like that. Like I was saying about Notre Dame, why they are so successful in both zone and gap doesn't necessarily have to do with the running backs. It has more to do with just elite offensive linemen who can do both, and not every guy is that kind of way, is that versatile. So, it's just an interesting outlier because they did make that transition, and I do think Kyren just excels in that way better.
Yeah, interesting. Because typically in gap, you're asking your kind of offensive lineman, like, hey, hat on a hat, like you're responsible to block this guy, go do it. In zone is much more fluid. You got to have athletic linemen that can pull and do different things, shifts, like you said. So, interesting. We'll see how that goes, and hopefully Kyren just has a breakout game against the Eagles. But any closing thoughts? We'll wrap this up.
Nothing specific that's on my mind. I mean, I think they're in a great spot. And this is like I was saying, this is the Georgia, this is the Alabama game. This is, 2 beat up offensive lines that they've played against so far. That's not the case in Philly. So, that'll be a true test. And then, they've played two great defensive lines already. Probably the most complete defense definitely the most complete defense they've played. And then these cornerbacks, this is getting too far down the road, but I always worry about these cornerbacks against AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. And, we'll get into all of that.
Yeah, we'll see that this week and we'll preview it all. So thank you all, as always, Ramley, for hanging out with us here on the Rams LAFB YouTube channel. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe if you have not already. You can check out all of our Rams content on LAFBnetwork.com. We'll be back tomorrow with more Rams content. And just a reminder, Thursday afternoon, 4 p.m. Pacific time, we'll be live previewing the game and always post-game live right here on the Rams LAFB channel. For Skinny T, I'm Ryan Dowd. Everyone have a great day. We'll talk to you all again tomorrow.